Well, here we are. I'm doing another, for the third day in a row, an update on the stimulus negotiations. And something I saw pointed out yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, because I didn't really have a reason to talk about it yesterday, because yesterday, as far as I was concerned, stimulus deal was going to happen, and Powell was just egging them on to get it done quicker. With all the meetings been going on between Mnuchin and Pelosi, I've been pretty certain that something was going to happen. Sometime, I don't know, I still wouldn't have said before the election, but something I heard yesterday made me certain that, okay, yeah, it's got to be before the election. It's something that I kind of knew, but I hadn't put the pieces, together. I hadn't put two and two together as far as tying this fact to the stimulus negotiations, and that is the current balance of the Treasury General account. Now, the Treasury General account is the executive branch, meaning the White House's bank account at the Federal Reserve. This is all the money that the U.S. Treasury has currently. It's not money that the federal government has that Congress is taking in through taxes and then is able to allocate to the federal government for certain things. This is just cash that the White House has on hand. This is essentially a checking account that the executive can write checks on. They can just pull cash out of here and spend it on whatever they want at this point, through executive order. Now, is that the most constitutionally legitimate thing in the world? No, but they can do it. I mean, is the Fed even constitutional? Actually, yeah, I guess it is, because, we had national banks before, so that's a dumb thing. I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, what I'm getting at with all this, the Treasury General account, it has about $1.6 to $1.7 trillion in it right now. And I had been following earlier how the balance of the Treasury General account just shot through the roof in recent months over 2020. It just, in 2019, it just shot to the moon. It normally was only, few hundred billion maybe in the Treasury General account, and before 2008 I'm pretty sure the Treasury General account never had anything in it, because the White House never kept any cash on hand. The White House just took whatever Congress gave to it and spent it. But now the Treasury has $1.6 trillion on hand that it can spend willy-nilly. And Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, has been going to Congress, negotiating with Pelosi, trying to get a deal for a $1.6 trillion stimulus bill. And Pelosi wants her $2.4 trillion. Mnuchin says, no, we only want 1.6. And the thing that people are wrongly saying is that, oh my gosh, Trump is just being such a budget hawk. He doesn't want to spend the extra $0.8 trillion that Pelosi does because he cares about the deficit or something. Which is, I didn't buy that. That's total nonsense. I did not really understand why the White House was stuck on this $1.6 trillion number, but I knew that it didn't have to do with the budget, because Trump has been way more flagrant in terms of racking up debt than Barack Obama was, or than George W. Bush was, and unfortunately it took somebody else on Twitter, at AM Live Monitor, if you're curious and looking them up, somebody I've followed for many years, they pointed out, well, duh, the reason why Mnuchin is stuck on this $1.6 trillion number is because that's what the White House has on hand that they can go ahead and spend, anyway. So if Pelosi doesn't give them this $1.6 trillion deal that they're trying to work out, the White House can just go spend it on their own without Congress. And Trump can say, screw it, Pelosi doesn't want to work with me, I'm going, she doesn't want you guys to have these benefits. She instead wants to have this $2.4 trillion bill, which is completely filled with pork, of course, because that's what stimulus bills are. Stimulus bills are ways of handing out money to special interest groups. If Trump can't articulate that, nobody can. So Trump can come out very easily and say, I had this $1.6 trillion bill of trying to give money to the American people. Nancy Pelosi didn't want to talk. She just wanted to give money to her special interest groups and spend a bunch of more money than we needed to. I said, you know what, no, we're not going to give money to your special interest groups. We're going to give money to the people. And so I'm just going to do it by executive order. Everyone gets $1,200. Or what, it'd be more than $1,200 if it's if he spends the full 1.6 trillion, and that's all checks. But right now Trump is talking about $1,200 checks. He'd probably, in addition to the $1,200 for everybody, bail out a bunch of businesses and do the crony crap that Nancy Pelosi wants to do anyway. But my point is, whatever they're proposing in negotiations with Nancy Pelosi, the White House can do on its own without her. So this whole specter of stimulus talk negotiations, it's just a farce. And so Trump now, he said no more negotiating with Nancy. She can't do anything. And everyone says, oh my gosh, Trump's abandoning everyone. Trump doesn't want the poor people to have relief. He doesn't want anyone to get more welfare checks. Isn't Trump so cold-hearted? And so today he came out and he made an offer. Or it was yesterday. No, it was last night. Trump said, hey, send me a clean bill with the $1,200 checks and I will sign it. But none of your pork stuff. None of the special interest, lobbying money. We don't want any of that in the bill. Just send me a clean bill. Everyone gets $1,200. I'm going to sign it. And this, again, is smart because, it puts Pelosi on the spot of, hey, this is at least something that you want. So doesn't everyone agree that you want that? Sure, you can't get through some of the other things that you might disagree with that you might say are necessary, but at least everyone gets their $1,200 checks. Wouldn't that be better than nothing, Nancy? And if she says no, then Trump can just come out and say, okay, you won't do it, so I'm just going to do it myself because we have the cash on hand. That is what the Trump card that Trump is holding on to. These negotiations are pointless. And again, keep in mind, we're in October. Trump's got $1.6 trillion that he can use to try and buy this election. You think that he's not going to spend all that money before Election Day and try and, do something to, gin up support for him to say, look what I'm giving you. I'm putting a chicken in every pot. Wasn't that FDR's line, I think? Or maybe he can steal the slogan from Huey P. Long, say, make every man a king. $5,000 for every American, which you could do with $1.6 trillion. I think that's how the math works out, about 320 million people. And again, you wouldn't give money to 320 million people anyway. They're only giving it to people who are taxpayers and stuff. I believe is how they did the last $1,200 thing. You had to be actually making an income that you lost, because that was the idea, is that the $1,200 was an unemployment check. If you divvy up $1.6 trillion between every working American, that is a lot of money to a lot of people. And obviously, this is a pretty corrupt thing to do, just to literally try and buy votes. But my point is that he can do it. And what are the Dems going to do? Are they going to sue him in court and try and stop these checks and say it's unconstitutional? Which it, might be. I don't know. I haven't really looked into the legality of it. But let's say they try and say, okay, no, Trump can't give everyone $5,000. No, you can't do that. You can't give all these poor people money. I mean, how popular is that going to be if they try and challenge this in the courts right before the election? Democrats trying to stop welfare payments? I mean, that would be mind-blowing. So I would say probably within the next week or two, because again, we're in October. Everything has to be wrapped up pretty much by the end of the month. The election is November 3rd. I think, Trump doesn't want to announce on Election Day that he's doing this because we do have early voting and stuff already going on. Trump is incentivized to try and wrap up his pitch to be president by mid-October, I'd say. Just come out and announce, hey, in addition to the $1,200 checks that we wanted to give everyone that Nancy Pelosi wouldn't approve, just because Nancy Pelosi wouldn't approve the $1,200 checks, I'm going to give you even more. We're going to give you $3,000, $4,000, no, $5,000, every person in America. Now, of course, I think that just cutting people checks and telling them to go out and spend it, I think that's going to cause some inflationary problems in the long run. Maybe $5,000 for everyone wouldn't be enough to do that. In the long run, maybe people would just spend that and it'd go quick, and it wouldn't be enough to really destroy the dollar. I certainly think that's the case, that it wouldn't do that. But again, you're playing with fire when you're just handing out checks to everyone and telling them to go spend it on goods and services which are scarce. So that's about all I have to say. Trump won these negotiations before they even got started. I would think that at some point Pelosi has to know this. She has to be smarter than I am. And Nancy Pelosi didn't get as far as she is in life by being dumber than me when it comes to politics. So I'm sure she's well aware with what Trump's doing here. And so there probably will end up being some kind of bipartisan deal, and Pelosi and Mnuchin will shake hands and work out some kind of greedy bill that, is going to be filled with handouts to special interests anyway. But it is interesting, what's backing up Trump's position here. And it really shows just how much better of a position he is in vis-a-vis Pelosi in these negotiations. So with that said, if you get anything of value out of this video, I'd appreciate you clicking that like button and sharing this video. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe, because I do upload every day and I'd hate to have you miss one. So I'll see you folks back here tomorrow.